Welcome back. Today, we're diving into a brand new explainer, and we're unpacking a classic folktale, the story of Mangira and Lena. Now, on the surface, this might just seem like a simple bedtime story, but trust me, it brilliantly explores human nature, pure empathy, and the true meaning of earning a reward. It holds an incredibly sharp mirror up to how we treat the most vulnerable people around us.
Before we really get into the weeds, I want you to ask yourself something. What happens when a magical test reveals our true nature? Because that's exactly what we're going to look at today. We'll see how a single, perfectly disguised event completely exposes the hidden truth of who we really are when no one important is watching. It's literally the ultimate stress test of character.
So, let's get into it. Section 1. Two Sisters, Two Paths. We start by establishing our narrative foundation, right? We have two sisters, and their radically different reactions to their father leaving set the stage for the whole shebang. Mangira and Lena are absolute character foils. When their dad goes on a long journey, Mangira really steps up. She's hardworking, she sweeps the floors, she cares for others, she makes this delicious hot soup. She basically holds down the fort. Lena? Well, Lena is thrilled he's gone. Why? Because it means she can just sit by the river all night long, gazing at her own reflection and brushing her hair. But wait, it actually gets worse. It goes way beyond just being lazy. While Mangira works tirelessly, Lena actively sabotages her. She deliberately dirties the freshly cleaned carpets and, get this, pours ice-cold water straight into the hot soup Mangira just cooked. It's just active, malicious vanity.
Which brings us to Section 2, the Disguised Fairies Test.
The narrative really kicks into high gear when a hungry, frail old woman suddenly appears in the forest. Now, this highlights a super classic storytelling mechanism, the disguised benefactor. Basically, a magical entity takes on a pathetic, helpless, sometimes even bad-smelling form entirely to test a mortal's morality and kindness. It's a trope designed to completely strip away vanity and test pure empathy. The core question is, are you kind because you want to earn some kind of massive reward from someone powerful, or are you kind just because it's the right thing to do?
Let's look at the timeline of how this exact same test yields completely opposite reactions from our two sisters. Right at minute 1, the old woman encounters Lena. And what does Lena do? She carelessly hands the starving woman unripe, awful-tasting wild strawberries that she was literally just throwing into the river anyway, sarcastically telling her they're the most delicious in the world. The poor old woman eats them, gets a terrible stomachache, and collapses in the forest. Just a half hour later, Mangira finds her. Despite Lena loudly complaining that the woman smells awful, Mangira immediately takes her home to nurse her back to health. So it's the exact same test, but with radically different results.
Moving on to Section 3, Sickness and Betrayal.
You see, Mangita's kindness isn't just a quick one-time act. True care requires sustained, practical, self-sacrificing empathy. Mangira works endlessly with this care routine, preparing hot, nutritious soups and brewing healing herbal teas. This is what true care actually looks like in the real world. It's laborious, it's repetitive, and it takes a toll. And remember, she's doing all of this for a complete stranger who seemingly has absolutely no way to pay her back.
But wow, Lena's cruelty really hits a peak here. While Mangira is working her fingers to the bone, Lena sneaks in and secretly pours out the nutritious soup and actually dumps dirt into the healing teas. When Mangira confronts her about the dirt, Lena just cruelly lies, saying, "No, I didn't put it, the old woman did." So Lena doesn't just sabotage the recovery, she straight up gaslights her sister and blames the sick, helpless victim. It's wild.
Okay, so before the old woman leaves, she gives Mangira some magical blueberries as a cure-all, just in case she ever gets sick. And predictably, Mangira falls deathly ill from the sheer exhaustion of doing all the chores and nursing the stranger. She begs Lena for the blueberries, but Lena selfishly ate every single one of them herself. She leaves Mangira drenched in sweat, fading fast, and just casually wanders down to the river to comb her hair. Which leaves us totally hanging on this question. Will justice ever be served? Will the fairy actually see through this cruel deception? All right, let's find out in Section 4, Magic, Punishments, and Rewards. The climax finally hits when the old woman returns to the village. She finds Lena lying to her face by the river and then discovers Mangira practically on her deathbed while Lena just laughs out loud at the suffering. No way, right? Well, the disguised benefactor finally drops the act. She transforms from a frail woman into a powerful, stunning fairy. And incredibly, Lena's first reaction isn't to say sorry. Nope. She vainly demands the fairy give her the most beautiful hair in the world as a payment for supposedly opening her house to her. Talk about wanting to earn a reward you definitely didn't work for. The fairy, having seen everything, delivers immediate poetic justice. With a wave of her wand, she turns Lena's prized beautiful hair into ugly, creeping ivy that gets stuck directly into the ground, swarmed by buzzing flies. It is a punishment so perfectly tailored to Lena's vanity. Meanwhile, she immediately cures Mangita with a magical blueberry.
But the fairy doesn't just stop at a cure. For her totally unwavering kindness, Mangita earns the ultimate material reward. The fairy waves her wand twice, and boom, their small, humble cottage is instantly transformed into a dazzling, magnificent palace. The fairy tells her, "Kindness is always rewarded, young girl. This palace is your reward."
This leads us right into our final part, Section 5, The Power of Shared Happiness.
Now here is where the narrative takes a truly fascinating turn. Mangita's reaction to this ultimate reward flips the standard fairy tale ending entirely on its head. In most stories, right, that's it. The good sister gets the big house, the bad sister is punished forever, roll credits. But when she's told her sister will suffer by the river forever, Mangita pushes back. She says, "What is the point of living alone in this huge palace without her? Give us back a happy life in our cottage." This perfectly illustrates who Mangita really is. She outright rejects absolute material wealth because her empathy extends even to the person who tormented her. She loves her sister way too much to leave her suffering, even if Lena technically deserves it.
Moved by this profound, radical selflessness, the fairy reverses the magic. First, that magnificent palace turns right back into their humble little cottage. Second, the fairy goes to Lena and restores her ivy hair back to its normal, beautiful form. And third, this incredible act of unconditional love and forgiveness actually works, where punishment totally failed. Lena is moved to tears, hugs Mangita, and truly repents, promising to finally be a decent person.
And that brings us to the core takeaway of our explainer today. Happiness becomes more beautiful when shared. Mangita realized that a massive, dazzling palace would basically feel like a prison if she had to live in it all alone, knowing her sister was out there in agony. It's such a powerful reminder that material rewards, no matter how vast, mean absolutely nothing in isolation. The true reward she earned wasn't the giant palace. It was actually the restoration of her family. So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a fascinating, kind of provocative question to ponder about your own life and your own relationships. If you were handed a magnificent palace today, who is the one person you would give it all up for? It's a pretty intense measure of what we truly value. Thanks so much for exploring this story with me, and I hope it gave you something really meaningful to think about today.